Mayor. Also in attendance tonight is City Attorney Tim Henry, Administrator Greg Baruch, Deputy Administrator Ann Toole, Municipal Affairs Manager Angela Frott, Assistant City Clerk Catherine Payne, and Administrative Assistant Lisa San Filippo. Does anyone from the public wish to comment on legislation pending before Council tonight? Mr. Sword? Name for the record, please.
Frank Sawyer. I'm looking at the council agenda, and the first item, I'm going to request a change to this first item with regard to the NAACP to possibly remove any one person's name and use the branch itself, not necessarily one person, because there's a lot of people who work hard in order to get that youth council their charter. And I would just like to see all of those people recognized, not specifically one particular person singled out. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Name for the record, sir.
Larry Singer, President of the NAACP. And I'd like to concur with that, just say that one individual is not the entity or the person that created that and caused that to happen. The executive board committee members are the individuals who created that. So I request that one individual may be extracted and that we refer to the executive board, the executive committee members who could cause that creation of that made that happen. It's not about one individual, it's about the whole team itself. And the whole team was involved in order to make that transpire and happen. So that would be my concurrence with that. That does not focus this on one individual, but making sure that all those individuals who sit on an executive board played a key role at some point in making sure that that happened.
Go ahead.
I was responsible for this resolution. I apologize if I slighted anybody, but can we leave the Youth Works Committee in there?
The Youth Work Committee, I was saying you're focusing on one individual who created this, and that did not happen.
Well, she was going to send the letter.
But also I sent a correction to that, and even the resolution that you were proposing to create it and present to the youth. And I said I had concerns with that. And the correction was that that person's name would be extracted and it will be referred to as the NAACP 2306 Executive Committee who made this happen.
Okay, no problem scratching the name off.
I also, Mr. Singleton, received several calls today from members of the NAACP who had asked me to bring it up tonight, and thankfully you recognized that before this got any further, because they also asked that name be removed because they worked on this project as part of a committee or individually, and they felt if you're going to list names, it's everybody. So thank you for removing that, and it's just going to make things a lot easier for us to approve this resolution when written in the proper way.
And I appreciate it, and I think due credit is due to all those who are involved. It's not about one individual. We don't focus just on one individual who makes things happen within this organization. It's a team effort, although one person may concentrate more so, but it's a team effort, and that should be also recognized, that it was not just focused around one individual, but everybody who's involved within that committee, because they devoted some time, some sacrifice. Some did more than others, granted, but that's all part of the whole process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so members of the audience cannot make an amendment to any official acts of council. Someone from council is going to have to make an amendment. So there's going to have to be an amendment to the resolution, as was stated by Mr. Sorg and Mr. Singleton. And Tony, you're making that amendment.
Just to scratch
so
the
we'll
chairperson.
Tony's made the motion. We'll have to have a second on the amendment, and then we'll have to have a vote on the amendment, and then we'll have to have a vote on the amended resolution.
Could you read how the new amendment, how the new resolution can read, so that we know what we're voting on?
Yeah, Kathy, do you have a copy in front of you?
Yeah.
Okay, I think
You can see the last two paragraphs, the one that starts with now and the second one starts with be it further. I think we'll only need one. So it could be, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Wilkes-Barre hereby wishes to commend and thank the Wilkes-Barre NAACP Unit Number 2306 Executive Committee for their guidance and assistance related to the creation of the NAACP Youth Council Number 28AM.
I spoke to Mr. Singleton. He said we could leave the Youth Works Committee in there too, but no names.
So we want to just take
Mr.
that.
Singleton,
Just take the name out.
Just take
do
out the
we have a
name.
copy of this, so we know what we're voting on?
You have it in your packet.
No, I mean the amended one.
We didn't do
No,
it.
because we're doing that now.
Just take out under
Take out
chairperson.
that's all.
Thank you,
Does
Phil.
this
Yeah,
have to
you
be,
can certainly
does this
do
have
that.
to be done tonight?
Yeah, they're meeting on the 17th
So we're doing this in preparation for the meeting on the 17th.
for a meeting that they're having related
Where's
to the
Mr. Singleton?
election.
May I approach you? And this is what I sent back to you as far as.
I've gotten so many
Yeah, we
revised
have-
versions,
we've
I've
revised
got
things.
revisions and revisions and revisions.
What I'm saying to you is.
Could you give a copy of that to
All right,
Kathy?
this is what I said to you, that I said where we could proceed with the process. This is what my
Make
recommendation.
sure Councilman George gets to see that and is okay with that language.
Yeah, so that's not taken out.
Because it was just, there was a jump and now it's changing.
Right, this is the 10th revision.
This is the 10th revision? Yes. Is that what you said?
Oh, yeah, we've been revising this.
You want the dates in there too for the,
Fourth for the last 4 days.
your
I
organization?
don't like doing something,
Right, the only change that was requested was the removal of the one individual saying, take it off.
Right, but can we keep the Youth Works
Yes,
Committee?
yes, all that was the only change. The change, the only correction was asked was to remove the person's name and make it the executive committee. That was the only change. Everything else remained the same.
Oh, so we can leave the Youth Works Committee.
Correct.
But the Youth Works Committee can, the executive.
So that one's okay the way it is?
No, this one doesn't say youth works committee.
Okay. On the existing resolution that has in front of everybody, just remove the individual's name.
Okay. So on your, the one copy that you have in your book, you're going to just remove the individual's name. Under chair.
Right.
That's what you voted on.
Okay, George?
That without taking out. There's someone.
No, I understand, I'm just, when I go to something, I have to see. So, Mr. Singleton, this has to be done before this coming weekend.
I mean,
You're going to present this coming weekend?
the 17th.
On the 17th?
Right.
It'll be an official-
That is the acceptable form. Nothing less than that is not acceptable.
Mr. Brown, you want to read it so everybody hears it?
Okay.
Okay, so the paragraph in question will now be revised, George, to read, now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Wilkes-Barre hereby wishes to commend the Youth Works Committee for the creation of the NAACP Youth Council number 28A. Mr. Singleton, you're okay with that?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so Tony has made a motion for that amendment to the resolution. Is there a second? George? Okay. Okay, so on the amendment, the vote is goes to Mr. George Brown first.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Tony George?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Okay, the amendment passes. Next is the vote, since there's only two resolutions and since there's been an amendment to this first one, we'll just take both resolutions.
Let's ask to see if there's anybody who wants to speak about other things in the session. Because we stopped with Mr. Singleton. Is there anybody else who would
Okay,
like to
sure.
speak about litigation pending tonight, legislation pending tonight? No? Okay.
Okay. So instead of having a consent agenda, we're going to have a vote separately on the two resolutions that were on the consent agenda. First is the amended, the vote on the amended resolution resolution regarding the NAACP Youth Council number 28 AM. Motion, second, and vote. Mike is the motion. Tony, second. Okay, Mr. George Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tony George?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Motion passes also. And next is the resolution authorizing the proper city officials to sign any and all necessary documents related to the sale of a portion of 103-105 South Main Street for $154,000. Motion, second, and vote. George? Okay, George and Bill. Bill will be the second. Vote. Mr. George Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tony George?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Okay. Next is the vote on the one agenda. That is first reading. The ordinance, first reading only. Motion, Bill?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. George Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Tony George?
Yes.
Mr. Barrett?
Yes.
And Mr. Merritt?
Yes.
Motion passes also. That's it for the official voting business of council.
Okay, presentations by council members. Mr. George, nothing. Mr. Brown, anything this evening you'd like to talk about?
Yeah. I actually have a question, I guess it's for Mr. Henry or Mr. Farouk. We're made aware of a situation at Hollenbach Golf Course where golf ball being hit off the course onto traffic. If traffic is damaged by the golf ball, the city is not responsible for the damage, is that correct?
Yeah, legally that's correct. We're protected under the Pennsylvania Political Subdivision Tort Claims Act for those kind of damages. We researched that years ago. That's crystal clear. However, the city takes all kinds of precautions with nettings and things like that to try to completely minimize, the chance of that happening. Unfortunately, it does happen once in a while. Although I've been here, 14, 15 years now, and our claims for the last couple of years are drastically reduced as compared to prior years. But yeah, legally,
You just had a recent situation where that happened.
right?
Are you aware of that?
Yes, yes.
Okay. I just want to get a legal interpretation because, knowing that it's city-owned property, and
Right.
if that is something that's being damaged, some property of someone, and it comes off of our property, I think there'd be a liability.
Sure.
Anything else?
Yeah, but there's a gentleman in the audience tonight that's going to be talking tonight about a major issue we have on River Street in Wilkes-Barre, and I'll let him talk about it, but it's something that, when Mr. Cicchetti speaks about it, we've been talking about it over the last few weeks, and it's something that we really need some help from the city. It's regarding students and damage that they're causing with parties. So I'll refer that to Mr. Cicchetti when he speaks later. That's it.
Mr. Barrett?
Nothing additional since Tuesday, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Frank Sorg.
I'm sorry. Just a moment. Make sure I have the right article in front of me. All right. I've been walking around the city, as many residents have, and noticing a lot of blight citywide. So I would like to ask council to direct the city's planning commission to update the city's comprehensive plan so that we may qualify for better federal funding as far as revitalizing or removing some of that blight. So and the last time this particular comprehensive plan was updated was like 1967. I think it's a little out of date, and I think that the planning commission might want to take a look at that. So if we could instruct the planning commission to do that, that would be great. Thank you.
John Cicchetti?
She came.
Sorry about that, sorry.
All right. Wilkes. The police are at my street 3 times, 4 times a week. I can't get copies of the reports that they make, if they make. No names are ever taken. I've got photographs, I got videos of all the nonsense these kids are pulled. They're gonna get hurt with their own hands. Girls, 5 girls living in one place, and 100 guys following them there. No cooperation from the owners, none whatsoever. What do we have to do with nuisance housing? How do we shut them down? How do we control them? I mean, I'm sure the police have better things to do than to respond to noise complaints and a bunch of kids going crazy, shooting fire extinguishers off in the street, fist fighting in the street. I've got a couple of years of video here. When we stop to urinate, maybe we should put some porta johns around the place. Wilkes does not come on the street. I'm on the 300 block. I sent everybody, the only one that came back was Mr. Barrett's, a list of all the properties. 95% student housing. With that much student housing, why isn't the college down there patrolling it? They have no authority where it's private housing, according to that. But they own 5 houses there. Supposedly, they're all empty. I have no knowledge. All I know is the police are at the street. I'm on the porch with them at 2:30 in the morning because they're shooting off fire extinguishers, shooting Roman candles, fireworks at different houses. Had an argument with one of the owners. He says the girl had a birthday party. She only had 10, maybe 15 people there. They're up to 0 off at the end. The 10 should be 100, the 15 should be 50, 150. I go to the police department and I cannot get any reports when they were made by my daughter-in-law. And there's no record of them. I sent everybody a list of the properties. Mr. Barrett came back. Mr. George is the only one that answered me. I'm sorry, Mr. Brown. And I'm in your district, but he responded.
Most of that stuff should go to the police department to do it, and that's what I do. I don't respond, I just tell people what the problem is. I should have responded to you, or all I did was send it to the city administration.
No.
So by not having any reports, sir, is it safe to say that the police didn't write any citations to anyone?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're down on Main Street, between North and South Main. I think there was, I don't know how many arrests the other night. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before. This weekend that just passed, nobody even walking the streets. I've got pumpkins thrown at the house, in the property, got my front gate, on my driveway, busted. I've had to repair that just this weekend. They take the garbage bales. Now my whole property is surrounded by fencing, locked. It got so bad 2 weeks ago, I sent my dogs out.
Yeah.
To get out of the property. They were breaking the gates, jumping fences, bending fences, taking my garbage pails because they were in their way, and throwing them on the property next door. Why isn't the university responsible for any of this? I've got photographs of them standing naked in broad daylight, waist down, fully exposed, flashing the people walking by and the automobiles.
Did you call the police then?
What for? What for? They're out there drinking on the porch.
I'm not arguing that, but there's more of a chance of them coming if you call them than if you don't call them. They're never going to come.
I called them when they were throwing, they ripped the downspout off the gutter on a building across the street and were throwing it in the street as the cars passed by so the cars would have to run over it. I got video of it. I got pictures of it. They're taking combs, putting it in the street, detouring the traffic.
Do you have anything you can share with us that we could give to the police department?
Thank you so much.
Okay, and you have a list of the addresses of the house?
I gave them to everybody here. I sent them via email. Now, if you want copies of them, I'll get copies.
Yeah, we
I have a
have,
copy of it.
I'm glad you,
Please.
And also,
Please, yes. Yeah, and we'll come back to your originals, okay?
Mike, also, I reached out to Wilkes University and spoke to Gretchen.
Oh, I know you do, because I'm a subject of notoriety with the English teacher. She lives on my street. Michelle Black.
Yeah, and this young lady from Wilkes, I believe you talked to her also, John, and she is trying to work on it. That's why
Gretchen Unitas.
she called back and she asked how this past weekend was. When I talked to you, you said it was better.
It
So
was a pleasure.
we're hoping that with her efforts and the police involvement and other people will be able to clear that area up.
Make sure that Chief Hughes gets this and that's.
I got so fed up, I took the tap over the beer keg. I got it in the house. You know, you use $5, you get a red cup, and you drink all night.
Yeah.
I took the tap, I got the tap at home.
But Mike, I think what Mr. Chiquette is asking for is more of a police presence in that area, Greg.
Sure.
And also, if there's police reports and they're not being made available, you know, what's happening down there? I think there was one time that you said there was 1 or 2 cruisers there and we tried to get reported. So basically, we're asking for more police presence in that area. Hopefully it'll make a difference. That plus what we'll do.
Police don't want to on that street, they fly by just like everybody else does at 50 miles an hour. I mean, it's insane.
Related to one of Mr. Cicchetti's questions, and Councilman George or Councilman Barrett may even know this better than I do, but I believe the campus security jurisdiction would end where the campus ends.
Campus, right.
And
Right, so that's why-
ends on Ross.
But if there are reports made on those houses, we still have the 3-strike ordinance, it's not drugs or anything, it's a nuisance property. So we have to check.
These are campus
There's
owned
reports.
properties.
Yeah,
They're not.
They're not campus owned, they're properties owned. We all got a listing of them, that they're owned by private individuals. They're not owned by local universities. And that's one reason why we were having an issue trying to get it resolved with Wilkes, because they're not their properties.
All right, Mr. Chiquetti, we're going to give these to the police department, we're making copies for every member of council. She'll get the originals back to you.
I got it within couple. I got cameras all around my house. I got one guy urinating right in front of my kitchen window.
Do you have it on a DVD?
He got thrown out of school.
Do you have it on a DVD?
I can put it on the
If you
DVD.
can, everything would help.
Not a problem. I gave the college a DVD. I gave Dr. Black, Dr. Adams, a copy of the DVD a couple of years ago. And this past, not even a month, I gave Gretchen Unitas a copy. I don't care if they use my name because they all know it's me. I don't complain.
We don't use your name, we just want to get the information.
No, I don't care if you use my name.
No, so we don't.
They say it right there at the university, in the class. My granddaughters are in school. And they wanted to know, was that me they're talking about? What was his name?
Well, they certainly won't get your name from us, so don't worry about it. Don't worry about that aspect of it. Hopefully you'll see a greater presence there, and the police will know who to look for with the pictures. Okay, we'll get you the originals. You could go back out in the audience, and before the end of the meeting, we'll give you the originals.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I'm not Mr. Jordan and I are a little familiar with those types of situations, but what the gentleman said was that the university expelled apparently somebody that was reporting on it. And I have to give them credit for that, because that's the proper action it takes. At the beginning of a semester, a lot of these people come from wherever, first time they're out on their own, and the university has to take a strong stance with that. So any meetings or any conveyances that we have with President Leahy down there, and we appreciate that type of a posture that they're taking with it, they need to continue doing that. And I mean, the neighbors there deserve the respect of these students. So I'm glad to hear that they at least took that action.
Okay, thank you. Daniel Coffey? Name for the record, sir.
Daniel Coffey.
Thank you very much.
City Council, see me tonight. I'm here. It's more of a zoning board situation, but I do have questions for the City Council. On August 20th, 2015, there was a zoning board meeting, and for 180 and 182 East Thomas Street, where a guy wanted to build a garage and a storage shed. Okay, now, with that, there was a petition passed around, and 31 names from East Thomas Street, basically that's where the majority of them were, were given on a petition. All right, our city solicitor, Mr. The lady who spoke that night, he said to her, he said, there's no addresses on these. How do I know who it is? Well, on the front here, it says, this application is pending the zoning variance for the property listed. I am a local resident of East Thomas Street. So that was put in there, okay, for that. And not only that, after the zoning board hearing, okay, I'm to the understanding where they have 30 to 45 business days to send out a fax, what is it? Let me see here. I'm sorry, I'm not used to speaking for people. Receive a finding, facts, and conclusion. They have 30 to 45 days to send if somebody is appealing it and I have it right here. It says mountains of rock out there. Skunks are coming underneath the building. Code enforcement. And we have a zoning hearing on the 15th of October, again with that. Now with that, as I said, we say the zoning hearing and I'm well aware of that. My concern is our due process, and we never got the facts and conclusion letters or anything like that. How can something be built when we had 31 names, okay? And it was obviously approved, all right, because who knows, but we were denied due process because we never got a findings, facts, and conclusion letter afterwards, okay? And it's the law. It's zoning laws. It is, I mean, lawyers, I got it right here. I can bring it up to council. If you guys want to read it, I have highlighted stuff here. I'm sorry, I can't. I'm just not much to see here. The pictures, yes. This is the residence. They're the residents.
Do we have any jurisdiction on any of that?
Okay.
It's a zoning issue.
Yeah.
It's a zoning issue, exactly. But why was it passed? Where are our tax dollars going? We pay a city solicitor, don't we?
It wasn't a city solicitor.
Right, city solicitors are Tim Henry and Bill Vinsco.
Well, who's Charlie McCormick?
He's an
Solicitor
attorney.
for the
All
zoning.
right, well, okay, well, he's the attorney. I mean, obviously, he pushed it through. He pushed it through, and how can something get built when you had people trying to fight it, okay? We were trying to fight it, and then by law, it states there, okay, you can look at it, it's there, you know, we were supposed to receive a findings, facts, and conclusion letter, Mike, is that correct? You know anything
I
about
don't
that?
know anything about it.
She sat in front of the board, okay? And she was the one that was belittled, totally belittled by Mr. McCormick that day.
Yeah, again, I have no
And,
knowledge of the situation.
so he had her address, and, so the findings, facts, and conclusion letter, since she was the one that did she was the one in charge of the petition, and she spoke in front of the board. She was the one that the letter should have came to.
Now, you said there's a hearing on the 15th. What hearing is that?
Yes, sir. I was just received it today. It's a variance hearing
For the same property?
yeah,
In front of the
because,
zoning board?
yeah,
Did the property owners
because
in
he's,
your neighborhood appeal the zoning board's decision to the courthouse because you have a right to do that?
We were never told that.
no, they were never told that. We
We were
don't know.
never told that.
Right now, basically, the way we're going is, we're gonna have about 17, 18, maybe 20 people if this keeps going. Maybe for a tax reduction, you know, ask for a tax reduction. First of all, I mean, the building is illegal it's the way he was gonna build it. It was supposed to be 50 feet from East Thomas Street, and he's only 17 feet. Right now, there's a stop and assist work on the project.
I mean, the best advice I can give the property owners in the affected area would try to get an attorney to help you guys with your cause, to file the appeal paperwork necessary at the courthouse, to attend the next zoning.
Oh, yeah, so I understand that, sir.
Right.
But my question is, how did it get that far? How did that building get
I
that far?
can't answer that.
Especially
Nothing
since,
to do with zoning.
especially since that, I mean, there was never any findings, facts, or conclusion letters.
I have nothing to do with zoning. I
No?
can't answer for them.
So that's what Mr. Henry was saying, that you have a right to file an appeal, and these things can be brought forward in that appeal. So.
Is there a time limit for the appeal?
30 to 45 days.
I would think there is a time limit to appeal,
Yeah.
probably 30 to 60.
There's 30 to 45, sir.
That's your next, that's the path you should follow, is go through the appeal process.
What about as far as him keeping the property in upkeep with, I mean, the piles of rock have been there?
If there's code or health violations, that's something that
The city.
code health people can come out and take a look at and check to see whether it's health or code.
Mhm.
And we'll be like,
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of little kids that play on that street and stuff, and now, I mean, there's skunks coming around, and I mean, they just recently have gotten a big skunk problem up that area.
All right, so we have to cut you out for 5 minutes, stay right there.
Mr. Coffey, just a quick recommendation.
Yes,
You
sir.
can come into City Hall tomorrow and look to first floor is Bill Harris's office.
Mhm.
He's the Director of Planning and Zoning, and try and get the answers from him. I know you're saying it's 32, 45 days to appeal.
Right.
It's business days also, so you're probably still within that appeal period.
And it's
So
not,
just try and
it's one
get
or the
clear.
other. It's 30 or
Yeah.
45. It's not going to be a time period, it's going to get dropped in.
Right,
So
but
you might be able to get more clarification going from getting the answers from Bill.
Mhm.
And if you aren't satisfied with those answers, feel free to stop up to the fourth floor. My office is right next door.
Okay, but my biggest concern right now, I mean, with the city council, is how come that facts and conclusion letter, the findings, facts and conclusion letter, is zoning?
It's all zoning, and my only thought is, if they voted yes, that was the conclusion, they voted yes on it. So I'm not really sure if there was a letter or not, I don't know how it exactly works, but my recommendation is talk to Bill Harris tomorrow morning, and we'll go from there.
Okay, I did talk to Bill Harris today. Actually, we got another zoning board meeting on the 15th.
Okay.
You know,
But that's for a different thing though.
American.
For the building itself.
for the building itself,
That's when you have to appeal.
right. Exactly.
Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
One quick question.
Yes, sir.
You said 180, 182, is that where the problem's from?
Yes, sir.
That's
180, yeah, that's the old what's that? The church parking lot where.
Okay.
The church parking lot. A matter of fact, when the guy with the zoning, I don't want to go into the zoning stuff, but
I just want to know the problem property
Yes.
address is 180, 182.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, Matthew Ford.
Name for the record, sir?
Good evening, Matthew Ford, Oak Street. I'd like to revisit an idea that I had proposed to council probably about 6 months ago, and I had asked both council and the administration to consider the possibility of getting municipal broadband going in Wilkes-Barre. And the procedure that we have to do is we would have to announce that it's something that we'd like to investigate here. And the representative companies from our area that offer internet services already would have the first right to actually build those networks. I predict they won't. But it's an opportunity for the city because we'd be generating revenue with it. And a city that's similar in size and area to ours, Lancaster, recently did the same thing. They did it for a very low cost too. When I initially looked into this, the cost of laying all the fiber and wiring either underground or on top of poles, we were looking at, I think if I remember correctly, it was somewhere in the $2 to $4 million range to get the city all wired up. And when Lancaster came out with theirs, they advertised that they were doing it for $500,000. I said, geez, how are we doing? City our size, $500,000, or city our size doing it for $500,000. So I called down and I talked to the chief of staff of the mayor of Lancaster, and she was a very informative lady, and she gave me a lot of good information about how they did it. And basically what they did was they utilized existing infrastructure such as red light cameras and piping underneath the ground to do it for a much cheaper cost. And I think if we could do it for $500,000, I mean, we could make it back in subscription fees if you figure, $40 a month per person in a city our size of 40,000, you probably get at least 10,000 subscriptions. Incredible revenue that could be generated for the city. So I asked this administration, and in fact, another city resident actually tried to do this about 5 years ago, and it was in the newspapers. His name is Tom Greco, and he proposed that we use the underground steam pipes to do it. Now, there's some discussion on whether those steam pipes are actually feasible. He says he got a study done. The city says that they may not be in the condition to do it, but even if we could utilize some of those, we could really cut down the costs. And I would be curious if, obviously we have a new administration this week coming in, new city council members, but do those who, have aspirations of either staying on council or moving to the administration think that that could be a possibility, in 2016, 17, 18, somewhere in the very near future? So that's my question.
We already have, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, a Wi-Fi infrastructure in place that's owned and operated by another party, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And it goes under, I know, I see it several times under, I forget what it actually operates under, the name of it, but would it be more feasible to improve that since all the routers are in place, everything's in place, isn't that the way to go?
Oh, if they'd be willing to, absolutely, that'd be the route to go. And I mean, if we could get the Wi-Fi network to a place where it runs as quickly as it can, but basically what's happening with technology is the file size of everything is growing and growing and growing as we get more precise with our mechanics, requires more lines of code, etc. And there's new television capabilities that are coming out called 4K, which is, I believe, the number of pixels per line or something of that sort. But the size is constantly growing with the new media. Especially, we're trying to revitalize downtown, make it more attractable to young professionals coming in. They're going to want those premier things. And our existing network right now is going to be soon antiquated, and we're going to need to do something. Like I said, since they have first right, we would first legally have to put that onus upon them. And I think hopefully the best thing is to just us simply suggest that we want it, and one of these companies step up to the plate and do the whole thing themselves. I think that would be the ideal resolution.
I know I just switched from the internet to broadband, but there's a tremendous difference.
It's huge.
Tremendous difference.
It's huge, and like I said, it's just going to, that gap as a file size, it's repetitive. They'll keep
we
growing.
have to keep up to the times, and I think the broadband's the way to go.
So Greg, can we look into this? I mean,
I know Lou Lau, our IT director, has looked into it. After the last meeting, we asked him to look into it, and I haven't spoken to him since then. I'll follow up with him tomorrow.
Sure.
And I'll pass it on to the council members.
I appreciate it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Floyd. John Sahoski?
John Sahoski, Almond Lane. I come before you to talk about taxable properties that were given away, like the properties that our Wilkes and Kings are getting. Is there any way that we can put a moratorium on giving them more properties? Because the more that we give them properties, the less tax money we're getting from the downtown. And once you give those properties away, like you guys are here now, 2015. Those properties are gone forever. 2050, 2100. Those you've never seen tax money from them properties again once Wilkes and Kings get them. I just think that we need to pause and slow down on letting them acquire any more properties for the near future. Just because we need the tax money from the downtown, we need to be able to have space to build up. Like there might not be stuff that we have downtown now, but once you let one of the colleges get a property like that, it's all over. It's never going to bring in tax revenue ever again. Like,
and John, I agree with you, but in the instance that you're referring to with the hotel, Ramada,
that was the right move. That was the right move.
But that's private property. We have no say over that.
Yeah, we didn't give them.
Yeah, we didn't give them the property, but we allowed them to.
We cannot allow.
Yeah, how do we stop private property owners from selling property to one another?
Do we have to give them the approval for the tax free for the?
If the owner of the property is tax exempt, yes.
So if it's not tax exempt, we don't have to give them the services. I'm not sure what the term.
Pilot payment.
Yes.
No, that's a pilot is something they volunteer to give. They don't have to give that.
Okay. Is there any way that we?
Yeah, John, what they're saying is that nonprofits like they don't have to pay taxes or tax, but they pay this fire tax in lieu of taxes, but can we go back and look at how much they give and maybe possibly renegotiate? Absolutely. I mean, that's something that could be done. And, you know, I know we talked about it before. So that's something that can be done as more properties are being added to.
But everyone gets your point.
I don't think anybody here disagrees.
Yeah, everybody gets your point.
But our hands are tied with the nonprofit.
Like that needs to be renegotiated because like they've acquired the Ramada. Like that was the right move because nothing else was going to move in there. But like if they want the Iron Temple, for example, like you can't let them have it for free.
I mean, we're also not getting any tax money from the Iron Temple for how long?
Yeah, but you're putting.
Ideally, would it be better if a tax-paying entity acquired the Iron Temple? Absolutely.
Is there any way that we could run ads in like New York papers or something to try to sell that to somebody?
No, we can't run ads to sell properties we don't own.
We don't own that? That's the counties?
No,
it's the chambers, I think.
Yeah, or an arm of the chamber or something, yeah. But I don't think any city properties have gone directly to, that I can think of anyway, in the recent past.
We had the rear, we sent over part of that street so the ambulances could get in or something behind the gymnasium.
That's when Kings was doing the development. Right. And that was a seldom used street with no houses on it.
Right. That wouldn't be anti-colleges, but I just think that they need to pay a little bit more of their own part to...
You're preaching to the choir.
You know, they need to pay a little bit more of their part to help the city out. Like, I mean, we need more cops. It's just the truth.
When somebody gets sick, it's the city ambulance that goes there. When somebody's on fire, it's a city fire truck and paramedics that go there as well. So
it's a tough balance because the colleges are certainly a benefit to the city also.
And I would like to know if anybody has done anything like with Sherman Hills recently. I know like most recently they had somebody that was caught shooting up in the air. Like they didn't shoot anybody. I know that they got caught because of the cameras, but like to even think that you could get away with shooting in the air somewhere, like I mean it's over and over again with them where like even though nobody got hit and somebody shot in the air, that's still a dispersal of firearms. Somebody should be held accountable for that. The property owner needs to be, I mean I said it a million times, but they need to be held accountable for something that they did.
Is there anything new over there? Great. Sherman Hills, nothing?
But there's nothing that can be done.
Did we have a recent one strike up there? I thought we did have a recent one strike at Sherman Hills. I think we did close a unit fairly recently in the past couple of weeks. And again, with the guy shooting in the air, if that guy's gone by the time the police get there and they're not getting cooperation on the you know, it's tough.
But I mean, at this point, the property owners, like, I think it's time to push the owners out. Like, tell them that either, like, we can't let them sit around. They're not helpful for the city.
John, one of the council meetings we had during the summertime, one of our remote locations, I believe you brought that up, and we requested meetings. Management team that's in charge of it right now, but we have not been able to schedule a time with them. But I think I made the recommendation when you were there. Mm-hmm. But we just haven't been able to get them together with us.
I don't expect them to
cooperate. We still like to do that because we'd like to sit down and get an update. Where they've been since the last time when Mr. Barrett and I took a tour through there. We want to update. We want to see what are the cameras we put in there, what are they doing with the gates and the fencing. Is the fencing complete? We toured that quite a while ago. So, yeah, we like to get an update. We'll try to do that.
And we understand that it's certainly not an ideal situation up at Sherman Hills, but I think that the new owner has been a lot more cooperative than the former owner was. I think it's fair to say that, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but it's still not where it needs to be.
Yeah, and the idea was they're putting cameras up, but we're saying, we
need live bodies.
We'd like to see security guards there so that a camera records the crime, security deters crime. And that's what we'd like to try to work with them.
Is there any way that I know he's made that recommendation, could you just remake that recommendation to them to, just make it?
Greg, what do we reach out to them again? Thank you, Mr. Sanowski. James Walsh.
Did you miss me?
Name for the
Jim
record.
Walsh.
Thank you, sir.
There's something you probably didn't know. Did you know that the most popular name during World War II was an Irish name? Particularly going overseas, sailors and the troops going overseas, whenever they got seasick, they'd over the side of the railing behind, "Rock! Rock!" Well, that went over like a, what I call fat tire. About 2 weeks ago, I went over to the storage shed over at Kirby Park, and I'm still looking the whereabouts of those 4,000 flags that are unaccounted for. And I'm speaking with Dave Lewis, and I have my camera with me, and I said, Dave, I want to take some photos of the interior of this building. He said, I won't let you, you're not permitted. I says, why not? He says, private property. I said, no, it isn't private property, it's public property. It belongs to us, the taxpayers. What are you hiding? I said, you refuse to let me to see take pictures of the Department of Public Works. He said, took pictures there last year showing the flags that fell over. They didn't fall over, they were thrown over. And he said, you had to put it in the newspaper. I said, that's where it belongs, but the public has a right to know. That's news for the people to be aware of. And I went to the mayor's office on 3 or 4 different occasions hoping to see him and talk to him. I want permission to go in and take photos of those 2 facilities. I want to show you what they look like, unless they've been cleaned up, which I doubt. That's what they want revealed, is the condition of those places. Filth. About 3 weeks ago, there's a double block property next to my home. And it's been in terrible condition. The people that live there, what have you. And I reported it. And I come out one morning, and there's the firemen, the policemen, and the paramedics, and the utilities, and they shut the place down. They condemned it to property. And I have been bringing it to their attention for several years. Why do we have to put up with that kind of nonsense? I spent the better part of 2 days, about a week or so ago, cleaning the front of that place property up. I'm a 90-year-old man. I shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff. But I take pride in my home and my property and my neighborhood. And I cleaned the front of the place up. I even painted the front banister of one side of the property, which is illegal. That's trespassing. So if you want to report me, go ahead. And I've been taking, at a cost of $300, I had installed a dusted dawn light in the back of my home, and a motion light, for my safety and my protection of my property, because of the lacks of other people. These landlords get away with all this stuff. Because it's pitch dark back there, back behind my home. And I'm doing it for my own safety, and the safety of other people. Why do we have to tolerate this stuff? The attorney's not here, I'm just going to ask him a question. What is the statute of limitations with these people who have these properties and are allowed to have these homes in this kind of condition without being forced to clean them up? Did you hear me, Mr. Henry?
I think so.
Why do we have to tolerate these properties being in that condition for such a long period of time?
Mr. Walsh, you get all your questions out, and then when you're done, Mr.
What's that?
You give us all your concerns, and then when you're done, Mr. Henry will respond to you for what he can.
My hearing's not the best, so I can't quite understand.
I can't allow it back and forth. You keep going, and when your time's up.
But there was people preceding me, and you discuss things back and forth. Why am I hindered? You do that to me every time. Whenever I want answers, you always say, wait till after they'll answer your question.
Sir,
Yet other people come up here and answer the question back and forth.
That was after their initial presentation.
Why is there no limitations as to why these properties can be left go for such a period of time? No answer?
Keep going. Is that your only question, and you're done?
Oh, why can't, if he answers me, why can't I respond to
Because
him?
I'm not going to allow back and forth, Mr. Walsh. Okay?
Why do you restrict me like this?
It's the rules of council. You've been doing this.
No, there's other people, they spoke unlimited, and you responded to them, back and forth.
They did speak
I'm
unlimited.
restricted, why?
There was, when their time was up, when their presentation was done, then there was a question and answer. Okay?
You know, you concentrate, the mayor's always talked about downtown Wilkes-Barre, Central City. There's 7.5 miles of the city. Why is everything concentrated on Central City? What about the outlying areas? All these blighted homes, they're worthless. They'll never be used again. Why can't something be done about having them demolished? Get rid of them. They're eyesores, they're hindrances. They reflect on our properties. And yet everything's Central City, Central City. What about, he was elected mayor of the city of Wilkes-Barre, not Central City. Why are the merchants always taken care of, but we the people who are on the outskirts have to suffer with these kind of conditions, and with the crime and everything else that's going on? Well, they're protected. Everything's first class with the city. I don't know how many restaurants there are, but 20, 25 restaurants. Everything's for the beauty of the city, but the rest of the city is neglected. That's not fair. We're taxpayers.
Mr. Mayor, when he's done.
Okay, are you done, Mr. Walsh?
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Barrett, go ahead.
You know, I'm glad that you reported that property and you saw how quickly it was taken care of. There are properties that we're not aware of. We heard about one in East Thomas Street where there's problems. I wasn't aware of that, and I'm probably on that street 3, 4, 5 times a week. And when you came before the city or notified the city, I can tell you I called one in last week, early in the morning, and the inspectors were there in the afternoon, and that place was posted and shut down the same day. But we need to know what's going on, and you did the right thing by letting us know. And I'm sure that the other council members have experienced the same thing. Our inspectors will go out, just as they did for you, and if there's something wrong, they'll have it taken care of. If the place needs to be condemned, we'll condemn it. And it happens time and time and time again. We have to know about them, though, and you did the right thing. And that's how it works. Nobody here knows where all the problem properties are in the city. But we rely on our residents that live in the city to let us know when there are problems, because you're the one that's going to know. You know your neighborhood better than we know it. You know your neighborhood.
Yes, but then when the report, there's nothing done about it.
No, I beg to differ on that. You just told us that the property is condemned.
And the rolling in Little
just told us that the police
they're lying dormant there for 15, 20 years.
Would you allow me to finish? You just told us that you reported it, and the police, and the inspectors, and everybody were there in very short time and took care of the property. To say that nothing was done, I don't. And as far as condemning, we'd like to tear a lot of houses down, but they're owned by somebody. They're owned by individuals, and we have to make those people accountable. We can't go in and tear somebody else. We can't go to your home and tear it down. Nor can we tear any property down that we don't own. We either have to acquire it, or we have to make the property owner liable to the point that they have to tear it down. We're not in the real estate business, but we will go after people that own properties that are condemned. They either have to fix it, repair it, or tear it down. And we'll stay on them to do it. We'll find them incessantly until they take care of it. But I commend you for doing the right thing, reporting that property, and the system works. But it's a system, and it requires a start.
And it also requires money. I had, in the last 3 weeks, I had 2 properties in Miners Mills demolished. Mm-hmm. It took me 3 years to do that, to get the money to do it. Yeah, I got 2 down, but there's another 15.
I don't know all the legalities.
Well, there's another 15 behind them.
There should be a time limit on these homes. You have to do something about it to improve their condition, or the city will take over and demolish them.
Well, the city takes over.
There has to be something done.
The city takes over when it becomes a danger to the residents.
Mr. Walsh, you were at the Crime Watch meeting on Tuesday. Linda gave me several properties. I forwarded them to Mr. Baruch, and half of them were cited already. This is from Tuesday. So they're right on top of things.
Mr. Walsh, we as a council last year put together a listing of houses that we felt should be condemned. And each of us in our respective district submitted that to the administration. So as we're saying, you let us know, let your council member know which properties you want to have someone come out and ensure that he's going to take care of that for you. So work through your councilman, but also we are on top of this as much as we can. I know I'm not speaking for everybody else, but when we hear someone calls us and they tell us that there's a property that's falling apart, we try to get that torn down. I have a property right now on Academy Street. I'm trying my best to get torn down, but it's owned by someone that goes out of state, and we're trying to get that done. We've had a property torn down on Cary Avenue. It takes time. Once someone reports that, it doesn't happen the next day. But believe me, you work through your councilman and give him the addresses that you're concerned about. He'll take care of that and get with the proper code. See, there's code, there's health. We also have to determine what type of inspector do we send out there. Is it a health issue or is it a code issue? You know, is it an issue where that property should not be inhabited? We had a property today on Old River Road that was deplorable that we're shutting down because it's not inhabitable. So, as I said before, you know, work for your councilman, and then that'll be added to the list. But we do have a list of houses that we submitted that Mr. Merritt actually put together in an Excel spreadsheet.
Decker's flower shop in the corner of my street about a year ago. For years it was filthy. And finally the city did get around it after I reported it. They didn't. He did clean it up. Now he's back to the same thing all over again.
Well, let Mr. George know.
Check on that.
Same thing all over again.
We had, we
Total disregard for the law.
We had the complaint, it was inspected.
But I don't think we should have to tolerate it.
Mr. Walsh, that complaint came in last week, I believe, from you?
What's that?
The complaint came in last week about the property you just mentioned.
Was it you I spoke to?
No. However, the health inspector went to the property and did not see any issues.
I spoke to somebody at the code development department last week, and I reported about Decker's store. And after I reported the condition of it, and he said, "What's your name?" And I told him, "Jim Walsh," and he hung up on me. How's that for professional courtesy?
Well, then you have to call your council.
So what's the sense of us complaining if that's the attitude we have? All right. Hope something's done. Thank you.